What is up? What is up? Welcome to the Demigod Show. Hi, babies. How are you? Happy Friday. It is Friday. It is Friday. We are going to be doing a movie review today, and we are going to be reviewing The Creator. I actually watched this movie when it came out. It is really good. And I only review stuff that I like. So get your drinks, get your snacks, and let's get into it. So you already know how I like to show you guys a preview, and I like to go to my website, IMDb. Now, as time goes on, one thing I will say is eventually I will not be doing this, at least being tacky doing it. You already know what I gotta do. Being tacky doing it. There we go. Sorry. Always gotta make sure the mic is on. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen, guys. Okay. So this is The Creator. For you guys that don't know, The Creator is now streaming. It's on Hulu, but I actually saw it in the movie theaters because I always want to support actors and directors and just whole everybody that is involved in making a movie. I always want to support them because that's how they get their money, right? Essentially. And for you guys that don't know, the actor here, this is Denzel Washington's son, by the way. I really like the fact that he carves his own lane. Use he doesn't really take advantage, at least to my knowledge, of the fact that he is Denzel Washington's son. So his name is John David Washington. Okay, so let's go ahead and
critics are calling The Creator the best film of the year.
Take care of her.
I promise. And it's now on Hulu.
Our mission is to terminate the weapon Alpha O.
They're coming to get me.
I'm getting you out of this. It's the best sci-fi film in the past decade. And a cinematic masterpiece.
Seatbelts.
The Creator. Now streaming on Hulu.
So that actually didn't do a really, really good job. Let's see about this. Let's see this.
You can't make films alone.
I'm gonna pause that until dang it.
Pro is the place.
Turn the sound off until it shows. Okay.
We should never have let AI out of the box.
The Creator, rated PG-13, only in theaters September 29th.
All right. Okay, so I hope that gives you some kind of insight on what this movie is about. This is essentially about AI and human life intertwined with one another. And honestly, it is kind of scary when you think about robots taking on human faces, and just, acting very human like and having human abilities. And, they are machines, right? They essentially are being strong. But for you guys that don't know, I don't want to tell too much about the movie, but this is essentially it is a baby, right? Well, it's not a baby, it's a child. But the creator, right? It's mom and then the dad, Denzel Washington's him right here. Um, they created, well, essentially his wife created this AI living creature at the same time she was pregnant with their actual living child. And she somehow created a way where this robot was able to actually grow like an actual human being. And because of that, and because of the amount of like intellectual property she would eventually grow up and to be able to have access and to be able to control technology in general, and to change it in ways that, for good or bad, it was a threat to the government and they were on a hunt for her. Okay. So here is a little bit about the story. So, against the backdrop of a war between humans and robots with artificial intelligence, a former soldier finds the secret weapon, a robot in the form of a young child. So he is actually working for the government, and he doesn't even know that, like, he was supposed to like infiltrate like this colony of like robots, and his wife actually was a part of that colony, and but those robots were like her family members and stuff. And because of that, he didn't even realize that, that child or that weapon was essentially their child. She ends up losing her baby because they end up attacking that colony. And that baby gets, she loses that baby, but then she has the robot version of it. She grew that baby. It was basically like a carbon copy of their human like child. So it was really, really interesting. And I haven't seen a movie like, I'm pretty sure maybe there's other movies like that. I just haven't come across movies that have something very similar to that as far as like technology wise. So honestly, I think this is like one of the best AI movies, compared to like iRobot. iRobot is like one of my favorite AI movies, and then y'all also got RoboCop. I like RoboCop as well. Um yeah, so let's go ahead. So this is what the robots look like. So some of them just strictly look like robots. Um, this is the wife that I was telling you about. Okay, this was his wife. Look, they had take on human face, these robots. This is the child. This is when the government was striking them. They actually found them. So this machine, hopefully, let me try to see if I could find. Okay, this right here. This is what his wife wanted to take down eventually, because they created these robots, and it became a point where they felt like they became a threat, even though the robots really didn't even want any violence. They really weren't enacting violence on human or mankind. It's just that mankind, used them as kind of like a scapegoat, because um, there was like a bombing of a large city, but lo and behold, once you watch the movie and stuff, you find out that oh, I should have said spoiler alert. You should have you find out that it actually was the government behind it, but they blamed the robot. So the citizens all over the United States, or just all over the world, right? They wanted to, eradicate robots because they were falsely led. I mean, doesn't that sound familiar about the government? So this right here, I forgot what this is called. So this that once they get your geographic location, they're able to track you. And this scanner right here, it actually could radiate for miles, and it literally blows up the place, or it shoots up the place, or whatever. So they end up finding where, these colonies where robots are, and just, end up attacking them for no reason when they're just minding their business. And essentially all these robots want is peace. They don't want, if you don't want to deal with us anymore, their thing is, okay, well, just leave us alone. You know what I'm saying? So now let's go ahead. Acting was really, 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 really good. Um, there definitely was chemistry between Maya and Joshua. That was the characters they were playing. Um, all these other, oh, these were actual really these were real humans. It wasn't like AI. What I mean by that is like the robots that they played. They were playing like they were robots, but they actually are real human beings playing the character as a robot. So, um, oh, let's listen to On the Scene. Don't want to play that. Give it a second till this commercial is over. I don't know if I should invest in like the pro of here, but oops. Here we go.
We can't go to heaven because you're not good. And I'm not a person.
So much of this movie hinges on the relationship between Joshua and Alfie. How did you encourage them to foster this relationship on screen?
Yeah, it was, really important. She's very shy. She's very timid when you talk to her. And so we were like, JD, you've got to get in there somehow. You've got to become her best friend. And JD made it his mission. And it was incredible to watch. He became her big brother during the entire shoot. And it felt for him a little bit, because what happens on a film set is you have a very important scene, and you've got to get into a certain zone, Sometimes you have to cut, and like you notice the actor will just go away into the corner. They don't want people talking to them. They got to stay in that like emotional space. And he would go away, and every time he'd go away, Madeline would jump down, run over to him, and hold his hand, and just start telling some story about a toy that she was playing with or something. And I'd be like, oh no. And then he'd kneel down and be like, really? And like ask about the toy or something and talk to her and play. And she just loved him, and they were inseparable. And it's all on screen, I think.
Did you locate the weapon?
Yeah, it's here.
It's a key.
What were the films that inspired the visual decisions for this film?
It's very much a melting pot of all the films I grew up loving. Blade Runner,
I can see
Apocalypse
that.
Now, and Akira. Baraka was a very
Akira.
big influence on the film as
Interesting.
well. I was at film school and I just went around someone's house. They put this film on and I saw like what looked like a few shots of this movie. It just spoke to me massively, and I was like, this feels like the kind of movie I've always pictured like wanting to make. Like, just saw a few shots and I went, what's the name of this film? They went, Baraka. And I was like, how do you spell that? B-R-A. And I went into London that weekend and I went and found it in like a world cinema shelf and bought it and watched it. And blew my mind. There's no dialogue. There's no story. It shouldn't work, but in my opinion, it's one of the greatest films ever made. And it's like, you know, like a moment in a Kubrick film, you know, whether it be like Through the Stargate, in an audio-visual way, just you get all the feels, and it's like it feels important. It's like that all the way through. I always felt if someone could go and make a film of that nature, but with like, you know, another film that I've, you know, Star Wars or something, if those two films could have sex, like their child would be phenomenal. You know, that's the high benchmark.
It's very interesting to see when directors or writers or creators, how they come up with the concepts of, you know, the film. So that's very interesting to see. So this was the he was the writer and the director. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes the writer is not directing the film. So that actually is very quite pleasant to see. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into. Oh, let me read the storyline for you guys. Amid a future war between the human race and the forces of artificial intelligence, Joshua, a hardened ex special forces agent grieving the disappearance of his wife, is recruited to hunt down and kill the creator. The inclusive architecture of advanced AI, who has developed a mysterious weapon with the power to end the war and mankind itself. So the genre is action, adventure, drama, sci-fi, and thriller. Okay, let's go ahead and get to the reviews. First of all, let me go to the top because I saw something. So people gave it a 6.8 out of 10 overall. That's his rating. I think it should be higher than that. I honestly would give it like an 8 out of 10 or 8.5 out of 10. But let's go ahead and see. You know, I like to see people's thoughts and pick their head and stuff. So let's go ahead and see some of the reviews. So this one says the creator looks great, but the story is tired and full of holes. It's very hard reading people's very dull reviews, but I mean, I guess I respect your opinion. I didn't feel like the story had a lot of holes. I felt like there could have been more played upon the relationship between the husband and the wife before what happens to her. I'm not going to tell you guys that part, but I pretty much kind of told you the gist of the movie. 7 out of 10. The creator uses his budget masterfully, but it's not without its problems. So this is a lesson to the movie industry on how to use a budget. $80 million was used splendidly. The cinematography was amazing, not terribly surprising, but because Rogue One acting was great and the story was decent, it wasn't without problems though. The story moves at an increasing pace, and at some points you lose track of what's happening. Suspension of disbelief will be needed in some moments. The theme of the story was to make AI to be more than just robots. I think they succeeded there, but at the expense of the humans. Most of the humans in the story ended up being one face except for Joshua. I don't know what one face means. I don't know what they mean. Um, what is it all about, Alfie? Lots of stuff happened, then it ended. I don't agree with this person. I just think they just don't like John. John did a fantastic job in this movie. Anyways, I'm not even gonna read that. Uh, wow, people had a lot to say about this movie. I think this is the first time where most of the reviews are like paragraphs. 6 out of 10, the creator is a modernized take on the Blade Runner formula that falls short of greatness due to a missing element. Wait, what's the missing element? Hmm. So this like Blade Runner. State of the art effects, but more holes than Swiss cheese. By the number by the numbers take on man versus robot dystopia. Good but a touch underwhelming. Very good sci-fi movie. Cinematography saved this film from a horrific storyline and cast. Okay, I'm not gonna go too much into these reviews. These reviews are very, very harsh. And I like to say I am a huge movie head and I'm very critical. I love sci-fi movies. This is actually one of my favorite genres, thrillers. Everything that this film is categorized as, I really, really enjoy those type of movies. I'm gonna have to watch Blade Runner again. I did watch Blade Runner, but I'm gonna have to watch it again, and then I'll do like a community post and let you guys know if I remember. Um, but I just don't agree with a lot of these comments. I thought it was really good. Now, one thing I will say is this should be a movie that is a sequel because I didn't like how it ended. But the way it ended, it definitely, if they wanted to do a part two, they could. This should be a series movie. But the only thing is this first one, it should have set it up a little bit for the second one if that was the intentions. I don't know if that was the intentions or not, but I think the director and the writer left it open ended for, a possible sequel to happen. This was a 2 hour and 13-minute movie. I didn't feel like I was sitting in for 2 hours and 13 minutes. I think the only time I realized I was in there a long time, I had to use the restroom. But other than that, like it was really, really good. There are some parts like uh, the beginning it does drag a little bit for them to build up to the storyline, so I could see how people are saying they don't really like the storyline. He could have like the middle and the end to me is where like all the action and you start really understanding. He could have cut out a lot of that beginning stuff out, or just sped it up and then pace the rest of the movie. And I think it would have been fine. More people would have been able to catch on to it and really just appreciate the art. I felt like all the actors were really, really good. The only person that I don't feel like they really had, I mean, there wasn't a lot of like main characters per se in this movie. Um a lot of the storyline was about the child and him, right? So the other characters that are quote unquote the main characters minus the government individuals, they didn't really have like big roles. So and what I mean by that is they didn't have a lot of lines for their character that they're playing. So I could see the director slash writer, he could have played a little bit more individualizing the characters. I think that would have created a connection for the viewers. because the whole thing, in film and TV is, finding that connection with that character and that storyline. That's really big for you to be able to package your work, right? Your body of work in a way that draws people into your art and they become invested, right? And just based off of a lot of these reviews, it sounds like they didn't get a lot of buy-in. And that's why, they got a 6.8 out of 10 overall. I wouldn't have rated it at, as I said, I would have gave it an 8.5. I get it. I understand where they're coming from. Again, I'm different. I guess I'm the oddball out of these people, but yeah, I think overall, don't let this rating deter you from watching this film. I think you should watch this film. There also is a lot of spiritual meaning in here. There's a lot of meaning, um, a lot of lessons on just mankind and how we have acted in the past over, civilizations or things that we don't understand, how we tend to make decisions based off of fear that is detrimental to whatever we are in fear of. And that doesn't always have to be, you don't always have to take a negative route on I'm going to stop sharing my screen. You don't always have to take a negative route, right, on things. You could actually, learn from whatever it is that you're afraid of or you're scared of or whatever you don't understand, and look at it in a positive light and not look at it in a negative light. And you could just go off of, just I'm going to talk about United States because I'm a United States citizen. You could just look at United States history, and other countries have, history as well, but you can look at our history in particular, and what we have done to um and what I mean, I'm talking about the government, not me. What the government, has done, when other countries, they don't agree with them, or somebody breaks a treaty or a policy, or, just systematic racism, discrimination, things like that. It's like all of those things where negative things have happened here in the United States. Um, you know, when you really look at it and you pull back the layers, fear is at the root of it, right? Full. Fear is at the root of it, right? Also, I will put evilness is at the root of it as well. Okay. And also power, control. And that's when you get those negative reaction to things, because a lot of times when people react in fear, they're not really thinking in the long run. And sometimes they are thinking in the long run, i.e., that's why we have systematic racism, why people of color really can't progress here in the United States. You can, but it's a dime and a dozen. So, it was just a lot of like meaningful things. If you're not an intellectual person, you're not going to get the gems that the writer put in this film. And just the simple fact that where we are currently right now with AI is going to eventually look like that. Now, I might be an old lady by the time I see it, or I might be already passed away before that happens. But if we keep going in the direction that we're going to end up doing that. And this is kind of like, that's why I made this title, this is kind of like the future, because it's like once we become fearful of things, we tend to want to harm it, right? We tend to want to control it. And a lot of times when we try to gain that control, what do? Destruction in the past. So I see that. Yes, AI is good. Technology is good. The tech world is booming, right? It's not going anywhere anytime soon. But if we continue on this path on AI, we're going to eventually get to that point. And I see them doing what they did in this movie. And it is what it is. Just like in the film I, Robot, AI could go that way as well. So it really is, just really look at this movie because there is a lot of spiritual stuff. Also, if you have read the Bible, there also is some kind of there's some symbolic things in here, like very hidden, you have to really pay attention to. So I just gave you a little taste off of some of the things, but I hope this draws you to it, especially if you're someone spiritual. This is a good movie as well for you to just really think about it. This is a movie you should watch, like do a watch party and just have a discussion off of, because it'll be interesting to see everybody's take on the film and just how they feel and the energy around it. But yeah, I still will recommend it. It's a good movie. Don't let the reviews steer you away. And yeah, make sure you give this a thumbs up. Make sure you comment. Let me know if you've seen it. If you didn't see it, did this review make you want to see it or did it not want you want to see it? So yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Peace, babes.